Good morning. And usually when I say good morning, I don't like knock down things that are in the front row, but I guess I did. Anyways, it's great to see everybody this morning. You know, the other day, or the other evening, was wonderful. Okay, I'll just speak in the manner that I normally would speak. And so with that, again, so it was great because to be part of the other evening, to watch the passion, to watch the uplifting spirit that was in that room. I'm excited about today in terms of what's on the agenda, and I'll let them go through that. But I did want to mention what you just experienced in terms of parking here at Tech. It was interesting. I wanted to say thank you. I wanted to say thank you to Brian. I'm trying, but it's not always working. I want to say thank you to Brian for the flashing light. Okay. That was original. And even though I'm the superintendent, there are moments in time, I never come to that door. I come to a different way. And so I had to get assistance to figure out how to get here from that vantage point. I usually come in through other doors to visit other people, so I was glad that I ran into some students this morning. One of the things, I'm just letting you know, the community is asking questions about this process. Our phones are ringing off the hook. People are asking, where can they follow up? Where can they be made aware? And so just so you know, the website, on our website, it's like a constant update in terms of what's going on in this process. So just wanted you to know that. I do want to say a special thank you to the students who are here. There's also some things going on in school today, so you might hear bells, you might hear whistles, you're going to experience it. There are students who are going to give you a tour today. They're going to lead you through this building, and so I just think it's going to be an interesting day. With that, here we go.
Thank you. All right, is this working? No. It's working? Kind of. It's working now. How about now? Slow start. No. Use the other one. Or I could just scream all day. Okay, let's try. Kind of in and out, and it's a little weird. David's giving me a thumbs up. First of all, welcome back. And welcome back to the design team. The energy this morning that was in the room while we were busily preparing was awesome. So we have a really full, jam-packed day. How many people are for the bus? Awesome. So it's a big. This is just hard. The microphone. So I don't know if we have technology. Have we talked about the importance of technology? One of the things, I'm just going to go like this. Is this okay? Can you hear me? I'll try to speak in my outside voice. Really inspiring the other night, Wednesday night, in the BC. I made a word lot, right? With all everything on there, I made a word lot of it. And it's awesome. Guess what comes up number one? Is that a surprise? Yeah, a lot of common ground here. A lot of common ground here. So I found it to be inspiring. So at the beginning of every process, it's interesting. People come in and they wonder, to start with reflection this morning, and Meg is going to be scribing. And I'm not sure if what's our status with the light?
He's working on it.
He's working on it.
He's got lots of batteries. He's not going to go there.
Okay, so before we get started, let's just spend a few minutes with some reflections you may have had about the first session, or workshop 1. Please stand up and speak. Would like to share something that they've been thinking about or struck them about the workshop.
John, they're asleep. They need more coffee.
Where is the coffee? Coffee here. By the way, take care of yourself. You know, break on your own, and just take care of this reflection here. Thank you.
One thing I was thinking was a lot of what we're about here is the intention that we're thinking about architecture. I just wanted to express the sense that my guess is that we also care a lot about all the kinds of information that we have no matter what kind of architecture was. So I just want to say that we're very focused on infrastructure, but I think the way we're assuming, not necessarily saying, what we also value, which is the STEM traditional ways in which people have learned, and which adapts to any kind of
Thank you. David, will you be a mic person in the audience?
I will. Because I can squeeze through. Hey, everybody. I've been giving a lot of thought about questions of technology, and I hope you just kind of hear me out on this, because I think it's like a contrary position. I would just ask that we keep an open mind about our emphasis on technology, because I've seen, in my experience, it's kind of a catch-all, where we just kind of say, we need help, and we need to assess that help, and so we just invest in technology, and it's easily accessible. When I was teaching at the University of North Texas, we had one of the number 3 design program in the country. Sorry, it's hard to talk about a bunch of people. And one of the things that they did as the number 3 design program, and you understand design is heavily involved with technology, is they got rid of their technology. They said, we're going to teach without computers. And that's the way they kept their edge, is because technology is only a tool, just like a piece of paper and pencil is a tool. So we have to be, I would just say, keep open-minded about it, because it costs a lot of money. And number 2, technologies, when they're integrated into a building like this, quickly become redundant. We talk about how our kids all are connected with technology, and it's true, not everybody is, but most are, and it's becoming more and more that way. And so when we have a building that has a capability for technology that students already have, is great, but I just wonder about the cost, the emphasis on technology, and the potential redundancy that is there. Thank you.
This occurred to me when I was going around Apollo with my group last time, and we went into the swimming pool, and I showed my group the facilities, and it occurred to me that I had not been in the swimming pool since I took swimming lessons there when I was 7 years old. So it's been quite some time for me, and I realized that we as teachers, as parents, as community members, we don't have the day-to-day experience that the students do. They know the ins and outs of the buildings, what is wrong with the buildings, what they need to flourish in a learning environment. And I think it's very, very important that we seek the opinions of our students, because they're the ones who live this day in and day out. I was able to go back yesterday, and it's the end of the trimester for us at Apollo, and I was able to survey some of my students about what they thought. So I asked them that same question that we talked about. If you had to describe an ideal learning environment, if you could do anything with Apollo, what would you do? And I got some of the most wonderful responses, things that I would have never thought of, because I don't have to deal with that every day. My experience is in same as theirs. And so to the students who are here, I want to say thank you for being here, because it's important that we have your opinion. And I think that I would encourage all of us to seek the opinions of students we know who are in these schools, because they know what they need.
Thank you.
As I was walking around Apollo yesterday, we got into what should have been the workshops area, and there's hardly anything there. At one time, I was told there used to be 20 shops down there, woodworking, metalworking, all kinds of vocational stuff, and there were down to 3. I've inquired here at Tech. At one time, they used to have 5 full-time vocational teachers. Now they've got 1.5. What's happening? Where not everybody's going to go to college, and we need technical people.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. I thought it was really neat that there were a lot of dreams and very important ideas that were presented. But my concern is, in this limited period of time, how do we whittle that down to the items that are truly important, that we can put together an infrastructure to put some of these other pieces in a future time frame? Obviously, we're not going to get it all, but then how do we put this plan together so that it's acceptable by the public and approved? Thank you.
Sounds like I need to get the worry diagram.
Good morning, thanks. One of my concerns is we started out by talking about our highest aspirations, and I think that's great, but I think what we need to remember as we work through this process is that there's always trade-offs too. We need to talk about what the costs are and what the trade-offs are when you go out in a particular direction, what you're going to be giving up. I'll just leave it there for now. Thank you.
Good morning. And through the process, I really my eyes were opened walking through Apollo. I think they have a great facility, a lot of great opportunities for their students. I want to make sure that in the conversation, what are we doing for the students that are not going to be at this new school? How are we going to change, and as we're looking at our budgeting in that, making sure that our other facilities, those students have the same opportunities as this new facility.
Thank you. Other reflections?
One in the back.
I didn't really talk about it. Just to piggyback on that, we've been having some talks over at City Life, and there are really 5 high school programs in this district. And I know we're focusing on Tech and Apollo, but what happens there greatly impacts our programs, and in my program in particular, Tech and Apollo are still in the home schools, and so whatever happens there, we need to be able to prepare our students to move into those environments as well.
2 reminders to think broadly, holistically. One more.
I just want to say I was happy to see the word community is the primary word that came out in the Wordle, and activities like the ones that we're doing here, hopefully the new spaces, whatever they look like, feel like, the usage will invite the community in to participate in ongoing dialogue and engagement, and connecting them with the facilities on a day-to-day basis, and engaging with the students, the teachers, the space, and that we build a space that, I can't remember who said it the other day, but where people want to come and be and participate.
Thank you.
I looked online and saw pictures of Alexandria High School. It is beautiful. It's wide open, lots of space, lots of windows. But we have to look at the population of St. Cloud and how the students actually are interacting with each other at school. Sometimes glass wall windows are going to be a distraction to the students inside. Sometimes big wide open spaces to build community areas isn't going to work because the students just aren't there to use them. They're in class. So when we tour these schools, keep that in mind, that maybe having couches and that type of thing looks great. The community is going to want to come in. But are they actually going to be utilized by the students when they're supposed to be in class?
Thank you.
These are great questions to be asking when you're on the
I just want to challenge us to be mindful of scarcity thinking. I think I hear, and I understand it, there won't be enough, we have to give up this to get that. But I think these spaces are so important in sending a message to our children that they are important, that they matter, that they're a cornerstone of our community. And so I challenge us to create a space that really tells children that. I think as we come out of a recession, these kids have all lived in a world where there's not enough, and there's a lot of fear about not enoughness. And I think as a community, I'd like to see us really circle around our children and say, there is enough, and you matter.
Thank you.
one more, and then we're going to transition.
As we emphasize the community, one thing I think we need to consider is the actual location of whatever we decide. As a community, not everybody has their own vehicle and mode of transportation. So if by chance we choose something to build a new facility out in the middle of nowhere, how do people walk to that? How do people get there? And with the understanding of health and wellness, we're not allowing people to stay active by walking to school. So physically, the physical location of the facility is very important to maintain our community connection and accessibility by everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. The group process like this does bring up lots of thoughts and reflections. So thank you for sharing. A reminder of our purpose, what we're here to do, to co-create a clear and compelling vision of the future for St. Cloud area high school learners, and we've just been reminded that that might be broader than just 2 facilities, and to align the educational programs and physical design of facilities with this vision. I'm just going to do a little review really quickly. We are here, right? And today is workshop 2. It's about analysis and assessment and a tour of Alexandria. So we're also going to tour tech at 9:30. At 9:30, there's a passing time from 9:24, and we want to avoid that. I have been advised, so we're going to avoid that. So at 9:30, we have a group of students who are going to be leading you on tours, and it's going to be great. You're going to do the same thing you did at Apollo, so it's an empathy walk. I don't think you need any instructions. Again, we want to ground our work in the mission and values of the district and the community. We're going to see a vision statement in a bit, and it's awesome. I've seen it. And anyway, they're going to share that in a bit. But this is the district mission. We have a vision statement for our work. But this is awesome. This is really what we're trying to create. These are the core values. We talked about Wednesday that you're all here to represent differing viewpoints. This process thrives on differing viewpoints and diversity, diverse points of view. So thank you for bringing your diverse points of view. They will come together in the end to make a recommendation. And we're thinking about the future and about, also our connection to the global, our global connection. And shared ownership. Design parameters, right? Aligned with the district's plan. This is about transformation, focused on the future, focused on students, technology rich. These are the non-negotiables. This is what we're here to do. We are the designers, and we need to address these issues. Co-creative ground rules, we went through these before. Relax and allow. Don't worry about who gets credit. Clarity is not a virtue. Creativity is risky. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter. And those who matter don't mind. I said I needed to get the worry diagram up again. And have fun. Have fun today. You're going to have fun today. I think this is going to be a fun day. We reviewed these things. This was our agenda last time. Went through forces of change. That's up there. That's great. And you can, at any time, just take a look at these things. Innovation. We had a little provocation about innovation. And we saw Ken Robinson talk. We talked about preconceptions and limiting beliefs. Maybe some of those came up again this morning, about beliefs. Talked about 21st century skills, educational trends. We're going to hear a presentation this morning from Marcia about teaching and learning in the district and what their desires for teaching and learning are. We went through an IC-WE-See, which brings us to, which was an activity that we envisioned. We got out 10 years and we were taking a tour. And at this point, we're going to, and then we asked a group of 5 people, 5 volunteers, to work on synthesizing the WE-Sees into statements. So they organized them into buckets, because some WE-Sees went with others. They're going to share their work, and then they have a vision statement they would like to offer the group for your reaction. Okay, so we're going to ask them to come on up at this time. And I'll turn over the mic and pull up the, do you want the, I'll just pull up the document right now.
Let's welcome our team.
So as you guys heard, we went through the WE-Sees that you see over there and all the sticky notes that you guys wrote, and we pretty much just put them all together into different subgroups that we saw overlaps in, which was very helpful because we didn't want to incorporate a million things into one paragraph. And so finally, yesterday we went through email and then talked about the different groups that we had and how we should put them together, and we created this document.
This just captured all of your WE-See statements, so this is just sort of transcribing what ended up on the big stickies. And when the 5 of us talked, it seemed like a lot of tables, when we were winnowing our ICs into WE-Sees, noticed some sort of broad categories: community, technology, being student-centered, teacher needs, things like that. And from there we translated what we had into the vision statement.
St. Cloud Area High School.
Can you enlarge that, please?
What was that?
Can you enlarge the text?
Oh, okay.
Enlarge the text.
Enlarge the text, okay.
It's on the bottom right hand corner.
Bottom right hand.
The 9 o'clock.
I'm going to take over. Oh, this one.
Control plus will do it.
That good?
How's that? Bigger.
We're old back. Some of us are old
Bigger.
back.
I hear you, man.
All right, thank you.
St. Cloud Area High Schools include inviting student-centered designs that integrate environmental, community, and technological resources to cultivate a love of learning in all students. Schools foster global preparedness, holistic development, and engagement through multiple modes of learning. Students and staff strive for success within equitable, inclusive, and collaborative settings. Students engage in theoretical and applied learning settings that build bridges between subjects, classrooms, and student groups. By celebrating beauty, function, and sustainability, we build on a tradition of excellence that serves as a source of pride for students, staff, and community.
you. I think they like it. Comments? Are we missing anything? This is where we sort of...
Where it says students engage in theoretical and applied learning settings that build bridges between subjects, classrooms, and student groups. Should the community be part of that sentence too? Or...
I agree with
Okay. Just to add the community to that sentence.
We're just getting feedback now, and the team will modify. We're not going to wordsmith it. We're just providing input now to our creative mini team.
I love it, so thanks to the group for working on it. I just have one question. If someone were to ask for one sentence, would we be able to use the last line at certain times? Sometimes we'll use the entire paragraph, but are there other times, if someone were to ask, can we just have one sentence? Could it be that last sentence that is pulled out from the vision statement that we also utilize at different times in different places when we promote the vision statement?
Sure, it's a number of statements right now, so maybe there's one statement, or the first one, right? First and the last one's great too. A comment here? Sorry about that.
No, I just wanted to say that I love that staff was also included in there. And that was one reflection I had, was afterwards we talked a lot about what was best for the students, but it's so important for staff too. They need to strive, they need to, and I'm not staff, so I'm saying that, but it's so important for them to feel like they're teaching somewhere that's helping them teach these students. So.
In collaboration too, that's good. Other comments? Okay, so we have some feedback for you, and you can choose to incorporate it, or you can choose to ignore it. Either way, I would consider, just let it consider, and the next time we meet, we'll have another version of it, okay? It's kind of an iterative process. But what I would like to do is actually have all of us read it together, because it's pretty cool. And I'll lead you through it. So if you would, we're just going to read this together. And it's kind of cool. So let's start. St. Cloud area high schools, including by student-centered designs that integrate environmental, community, and technological resources to cultivate a love of learning in all students. Schools foster global preparedness, holistic development, and engagement through multiple modes of learning. Students and staff strive for success, equitable, inclusive, and collaborative settings. Students engage in theoretical and applied learning settings that build bridges between subjects, classrooms, and student groups. By celebrating beauty, function, and sustainability, we build on a tradition of excellence that serves as a source of pride for students, staff, and the community. Cool, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of it.
Next thing we're going to do, we're going to watch one more provocation.
Thank you, man. One more provocation. So bear with me, I have to switch to another PowerPoint. So what you're going to see is a short video from High Tech High in San Diego. Has anybody heard of High Tech High in San Diego? 3 or 4 of you, okay. Again, as you watch this, think about what is relevant to our work here. And so you're going to see the CEO of this high school or the high-tech high talking about some of the principles and that it's based on. Some of them show up in your highest hopes and in the WECs. So we thought it'd be a good video for you to see. So take notes or think mentally, and we'll ask you to reflect on it when it's done. Larry Rosenstock is the CEO.
Turn it up, John.
Okay, we need to pause here. Yeah, can you go to, it's playing weird because it's through, can you get on the web and, I'm sorry, let's take a 2-minute break. There's coffee. Is there donuts? Talk amongst yourselves.
Hello. If you need to use the restroom here, if you need to use the restroom on a break right here in the resource room, go out this hall, take an immediate left, and it's not going to say men or women, it's going to say staff lounge. You have to go through that door, and then there will be men and women's room. So go out this hall, to the left, staff lounge.
I am now. Hey, Ken, how are you? I didn't see this, I just wanted to see the score. Is it the same thing where they're peppering shots and not So I talked to Sam.
Okay. All right, I think we're ready to go. I apologize for that. That was entirely my fault. So let's come on back and we'll get it fired up in just a second. Again, Larry Rosenstock, High Tech High, talking about project-based learning and some of the things they're doing around teaching and learning.
Where's the sound coming from? What about
going to be able to do this. So let's turn that off, and we'll get up the presentation to get Marcia up here for a presentation on teaching and learning, and we'll figure this out while you're on the tour.
Can we get the projector back to the computer?
Grab that remote.
Tech help? Yay! Okay, thank you for your patience. A little demonstration of technology. I will forward as you see fit. I'll give you the clip.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So the architects met with members of the teaching and learning team and asked us, what do we want for our learners in District 742? So what I'm about to share with you are the thoughts of the teaching and learning team in this district. And so I'm excited to share with you what we were thinking. So what do we want for all of our students in District 742? And so all does mean all. As we thought about this, we thought about pre-K-12, because we know our students that are now in pre-K are going to one day be in high school. And so we also thought about our students are going to be in a school, which is just a physical structure, that and learning for a future that we can't even fathom. And they're going to have to be prepared for a future that we can't even begin to think about what it might look like, what it might feel like, and what they might have to engage in order to be successful. I don't know if you, but I've read lots of different research and articles about things that say our students in the future may change careers as many as 6 to 8 times. So it's not the kind of existence that maybe you or I have had, although, you know, we've changed jobs, but careers, not just jobs. So what do we want? This means that we need to create flexible, adaptable environments that support a variety of learning styles. Students don't all learn the same way. And so we need to be really cognizant of that. We envision flexible, adaptable learning spaces with movable walls, furniture that can be moved around and configured in a variety of ways that allow our students to collaborate. If you recall the 4 C's of the 21st century, and actually there's a 5th one: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and the 5th one is citizenship. We want our students to be able to engage in learning activities that are going to help them do all of that and be all of that. So we also envision that they're not just going to learn within the 4 walls of a classroom or the physical structure of a school, but that they'll be able to learn and collaborate with students, with adults, in the community, in the state, in the nation, and in the world. So we want to be able to envision a space where students can do that. We want our learners to feel safe and have a sense of community both in and out of the school environment. So this means that we need to create a space for community within the school and for the students in the community. So we want to create spaces where community partners come in and work with our students, where students go out into the community and are able to engage in partnerships with business, mentorships, internships, residencies, so that learning does, as I said earlier, extend beyond the four walls of that classroom. We want students to have a sense of belonging. And we also want to be able to celebrate the uniqueness of St. Cloud. Place-based learning. This really means that students are actually going to places, as I said earlier, where they are learning. So they are, again, doing an internship in a bank, in a hospital, in a business. So it's place-based. It's not learning about, it's learning within that environment. We want our learners to be competitive in the world. And this means that we need to create a world-class education that supports both college and career readiness. So we need to create lots of opportunities. I'm sorry that we didn't get to see the Tech High video, but I think as the gentleman was starting to say, that we sometimes put children into categories. As those students who are college ready and those students who might be both tech ready or career ready, we need to think of our learners as whole beings, because we're a little bit of everything, and so are our students. And we need to create opportunities for them to explore, to expand their learning, to expand their interests, to expand their experiences, so that when they leave our system, they are truly prepared to be successful in the world. So, looking at opportunities for, as I said earlier, for them to engage with local businesses, creating partnerships with businesses. ProStart is actually a culinary arts opportunity for students. We want our learners to be equitably connected to resources. And what this means is that we need a technology-rich environment that promotes learning anytime, anywhere, and this means, virtual technology that connects students literally to the world, as I was speaking about earlier. We need to have technology centers in schools with genius bars and informal learning. And the concept that Apple has, where if you're having technology problems, that you go to the Apple bar and they help you fix it. Well, we want to be able to have something like that in our schools and have our students be the ones who are the geniuses, as we just saw by the young man who came up here and helped out our facilitators. We want wireless everywhere, and we want extended day availability for students, for community members who may not have access to Wi-Fi yet. We want our learners to have hands-on, relevant learning experiences. And this means that we need to support career, technical, business, and STEAM education through appropriate partnerships and space. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. And this really means that we're integrating learning. It's not separate subjects or content areas. It's really integrating learning so that it's relevant, it's meaningful, it's rigorous. So spaces for applied learning, student-run businesses. I know of a high school who has a credit union for students. And students run the credit union. They there's no adult involvement. They went to be trained, they run it, and students get to be wise managers of their money. And they're doing it at school. So it's opportunities like that we want to create for our students. And we want to have high-tech math and science labs. that really simulate the real world. We want our students, our learners, to understand that learning is integrated and not discipline specific. You'll see that these are kind of blending together, but we need to break down traditional silos between subjects and promote teacher collaboration. We want our students to be collaborators, our teachers to be collaborators as well. We're not implying that they're not, but ways that we can encourage this is through interdisciplinary learning, spaces that allow team teaching so that staff can really and truly collaborate and co-teach around the different content areas so that students can see the integration. We also want our learners to be supported by staff that work collaboratively to promote best practice. What this means is that we need to support our staff through professional development and create professional workspace for collaboration. So again, this may mean that our classrooms look different, that teachers don't have their personal space within the classroom anymore, so that our classrooms can be flexible, that teachers might have an office space, if you will, and this happens already in some schools and in some of our buildings, but so that teachers can collaborate, that they don't operate in silos, that we encourage that by the physical spaces that we build. We want our learners to have opportunities throughout the community. This means that we will work to support partnerships with businesses and higher education institutions in the St. Cloud area. We already are engaged in partnerships, but how can we expand on those, deepen those, and really think outside the box, if you will, so that we can create better opportunities for our students. Again, so that we're looking not just within our St. Cloud area, but in the region and in the state, so that our students can learn about opportunities that may not currently exist in this area. We want our learners to have a completed high school experience rich with opportunities beyond traditional academics. So we also, as I was saying earlier, it's about the whole child, supporting the arts, activities, and athletics. So having facilities available for our students to encourage the other parts of them, not just their brain, but creating great athletic facilities, auditoriums for performances. We talked about the possibility of having an indoor track, creating this big space that can be used in multiple ways for opportunities like this. We want our learners to feel welcomed into our schools, and this means that our schools need to address the physical needs of students by being safe, comfortable, and aesthetically welcoming with lots of daylight. I don't know about you, but I love sunlight. I love light, and I think that light affects a lot of us. So I think that spaces that offer light and natural light for our students can really, I think, encourage learning and encourage collaboration and creativity and critical thinking. So we talked about natural lighting, outdoor learning opportunities and spaces for our students, gardens, things like that, so that they're getting to be outside and learning as well. We also wanted to ensure that we have enough parking for our high school students, that it's safe. We know that right now at Tech, students park across the street and walk, and so we just want to make sure that that parking is accessible in a safe way for our students. And then thinking about the structure in ways that embrace social, emotional, and cultural needs of all of our students. There you go. And I'm sure that there are lots of ideas and wonderful things that you could include in this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
I just want to end with a quote that I was given as I walked into the room, because I think it is powerful. It's by Nelson Mandela, and it says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And I think that we have an amazing opportunity to create a structure that's going to support learning for our students and education for our students, because they are our future. And so I just think that we have a great opportunity here.
Thank you, Marcia. So we're going to take a little time to reflect on that. Megan will be scribing our reflections again. That was a lot of information about the future of learning here. Comments? We got a few minutes before the tour starts. I'm going to sneak through.
Last week I had lunch with a person who just recently retired from a very high-level national organization in an executive role. And he had a really interesting observation about employee training and work preparedness and all those kinds of things. And in one of Marcia's early slides, it talked about helping our students be ready to go out into the world and work all over. We also want to make sure that they're ready to stay here and work too. We need somebody to buy the businesses that many of us are getting ready to retire from. And we need people to open banks, and shops, and woodworking places, and electricians, and all that kind of stuff right here too. Not that I'm against worldwide training, but we want to make sure that they can do things here too.
Thank you. A lot of those ideas on right here.
I just wanted to quick comment on how similar everything in this presentation is already in our mission statement. And if we go back and read that mission statement that core group put together over the last couple of days, it's going to emphasize a lot of the same things that Marcia spoke on and is bringing up that they want.
Isn't it great how aligned all this feels? I mean, it's starting to feel really connected. So there's a lot of common ground.
For the last, both of these meetings, it keeps coming back to me that we moved to St. Cloud in 1970. And that's the year that Apollo High School opened. It was an innovative high school built around differentiated staffing, differentiated learning, and lots of the same kinds of concepts, maybe in different words that we just looked at. So that was kind of an experimental high school. And I think we have an experiment, a 45-year experiment, if you will, here in town. I think that our kids went to, they weren't even born yet, but they went to Apollo High School. They did very well. Lots of kids did very well. Most kids did very well. But then there's always been this undercurrent in the community that some people think that Apollo did not serve or does not serve some kids very well as we intended. And some of those things, did they work or didn't they work? In my perspective, I think that with Apollo, we had the ideas, the community was behind it, a great high school, but I don't think we kept up with the resources and the whatever it took, money, to sustain that kind of learning. And if we can dream, and I don't mean to be putting cold water on that, but we have to be able to, down the road, through the years, support whatever we decide, whether it's a new building or a renovated building or what. But we can come up with the ideas. That's the easy part. Is the community going to be able to keep it going? And it needs to be equitable around the district, not just one building. Thank you.
Wonderful thoughts. Love having the long view in the room, so thank you for that perspective. Also the importance of staff development, right? The importance of supporting the ongoing efforts, mission, and vision. So thank you.
I'm curious about the definition of student. I work with a lot of adult learners who need to have basic skills brush-ups before they can go on to post-secondary. I haven't been in high school myself for a while. So what would make what we're creating here my community learning center? how would I access it? I heard the student definition broaden, to K-12, but what about all the rest of the learners in the community? And how would I access and learn, and not just have students go out into the community for learning, but how would I come into the area, into the facility to learn?
And what kind of space would you see there? That's awesome.
I work here in this building, and a couple points that were brought up by Marcia already happen here at Tech. We already do co-teaching here at Tech on some level. There's already team teaching on some level for some classes. So this stuff is already going on here in the school. The thing is that maybe having spaces more malleable might assist in that, but that stuff is already going on here. This building already serves that purpose. So, I want to go back to this gentleman's statement is the long term. This is going to be sustainable by the community and what we want to bring into the school. Is the community going to be willing to maintain the sports facilities? Clark Field is a prime example of that. And those types of facilities, renovating or even building new, are we going to want to bus our students all the way out to wherever the school would be long term to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to be doing after-school activities or performances or music and the extracurriculars that we want them to enrich them. And I think that's important to keep in mind.
I'll be quick, but just as a faculty perspective, I teach at Apollo, and everything on this slide, everything that Marcia presented, I was open to. I like. The only thing that worried me is I think we need to remember to balance between flexibility and practicality. If my personal space is taken away, if I don't have a classroom, there are so many resources in my classroom that I cannot haul every single day on a cart to a classroom. I have posters, I have learning posters, I have references, I have a bookshelf full of books for my students to use. I have a huge bookshelf full of creative prompts for my poetry writing classes. I have big cabinets that are full of student folders so they can access their work at all times. And if I have to have an office hour, an office space, and have this other classroom that I just visit time to time, it's going to be really difficult, I think, for staff members to keep that up. And students might lose out on some things that they would have as resources in the classroom.
All right, thank you. Are you going to be on the tour?
I'm not, unfortunately.
The thoughts that Ken shared and people like Pat and Todd Tyson that were part of innovative thinking 50 years ago. If we look back another 50 years ago, this building was built on the premises Technical High School of putting students into the community that could function in the businesses. So there are not a lot of, we've often heard that, there's not a lot of new thought, but there's this innovation that's been tried. I think we have to continue to refine it. The thoughts are there, and there have been a lot of people that have put a lot of hard work into it, so I think we just have to put it back on the road.
Okay, thank you. I think we're going to call that good. And what we're going to do now, we're being joined by some student representatives. I'm going to have, let's see, you're going to have a couple people introduce this, Adam.
So we're very fortunate. We've identified some student leaders throughout our building. Each group, there's going to be 2 leaders to a group, has a map. On the map are orange-colored rooms that are prep period rooms, so you won't interfere with any learning, but you can see the learning spaces. If you see a space without students, please feel free to go in there as well. So at this time, the students will introduce. There's going to be 2 students for 2 tables, right? We're going to do 2 groups. That's what So 2 groups, but they'll introduce themselves, and then we'll dismiss you guys, and you can go throughout the whole building after make comments.
See, I need the mic. No, remember, this is the same exercise we did at Apollo. There are green and pink stickies back there. Please make sure that you fill them out for aligned and misaligned, because we have an exercise to do after the tour.
Which color's which?
When you come
Which is
back,
which?
you'll be putting the stickies on these two pieces of paper here.
John, remind them which is which. Which color is aligned and which is not.
Aligned is green. Aligned is green, and pink is misaligned.
In high school, and I'm a senior. And
my name's Tia, and I'm a senior. My name's Madeline, and I'm a senior. My name's Claire, and I'm a senior. My name's Tiffany, and I'm a senior. My name's Emily, and I'm a senior. My name's Monica, and I'm a senior. My name's Ryan, I'm a junior. My name's Brittany, and I'm a junior.
My name's Max, and I'm a junior.
My name is Kylie, and I'm a junior. My name's Tiana, and I'm a junior.
Okay, tables 1 and 2, you guys are going right here, so if you want to go with James and Sid, take a pad.
I'll be back at 4 o'clock.
Tables 3 and 4, right here, you go with the stuff. Tables 5 and 6, 5 and 6 will come to you. Right here, you can do 5 and 6. Tables 7 and 8, they'll come to you. Tables 7 and 8. Tables 9 and 10, raise your hand. These two are coming right there. Tables 12 and 13. Tour guys, there should be one map per group. If you have a second map, please come. Who does not have table 14 and 15 right here?
I feel like crack open the ones. I know. I think they're in a box here.
Gotta get a light.
Yeah. But I'm an exhibiting artist. So I'm going to go one in Dallas. So I do a lot of kind of abstract stuff. Nope. But I'll be showing those here on this
Nice. Okay.
What were your names again?
I'm
Fred.
Yes, it's our okay.
And then I'll get Fred to join you.
Okay. Thank you.
Fred, I want to get LRC to join our group.
Stickies? Anybody grab stickies for our group?
Yeah.
Yes. We got it.
It's going to go around the corner.
Yeah, we're supposed to be in that joint Fred.
Yes, so she'll be here next year.
Fred, your group is waiting. That's green.
Look at all theirs.
Charlie, you're going to go with
Yeah.
So, Fred has
Key in the event.
Fred has to do it.
Panther pink and green. Semi.
You were going to give us one, you're going to give us one each. So number one from each, okay? And then the other tables, if you have that element, you're going to put a line through it, okay? we don't repeat stuff. We want to get singular ideas up here. So if you also have that, put a line through it, okay? Then we're going to come to table 2. You give us your 1 and 1. Unless they got a line through it, then you go to 2, okay? And then we're going to proceed until all of the ideas are out, or are left open. And then we're going to have you put your sheets up here, and then we're going to prioritize it. And we'll get to that exercise when we have none left. So let's start with table 1. Everybody get it? Top one, one of each.
Tell us which they are.
And you're going to stand up and talk into the microphone.
All right, so for Apollo, one of the big positive things that we liked was the visual evidence of school pride. And then one of the things that we did not like was that the interior was unattractive, such as the narrow dark halls and also the drab carpet, just kind of distracting. And then for tech, we liked the space that tech had. Those were dedicated to different areas, such as the band room was specifically for that area, like the music department, or like space for the alumni. And something that we didn't like was the overall structure. Although we did like the spacing, we didn't like how it was put together, such as the narrow stairwells, and there's no main entrance for people to know this is where to come in. Or same thing as Apollo, where it's just kind of drab and unattractive.
Okay, thank you. Next table. 1 each category.
For Apollo, we celebrated the alternative learning spaces such as outdoor labs, student businesses, and flexible open spaces. We wanted to address outdated technology. At Tech, we celebrate the pride, that's very tangible here, and issue is accessibility.
Perfect. You're going to keep track. Your single line through the ones that have been repeated. Table 3.
At Apollo, the thing that we were celebrating was the food service options, the cafeteria space and coffee shop that's student run. And the thing we were looking to change was the cafeteria flow and the aesthetics in that area.
That was Apollo, and it was cafeteria flow as something that needs to be addressed.
At Tech, we had the cafeteria as well. As far as logistics and options, the students told us that was flowing really nicely. And for the change, we had the claustrophobic, confusing hallways.
Tech, claustrophobic, confusing hallways. Probably none of you had that. Table 4.
At Apollo, we had nice large open spaces and unwelcoming environment. It was harsh, hard, dark. Felt like prison.
Large, open, but harsh.
For tech, we had lots of natural light coming through the classrooms and the cafeteria. And the must-go for tech is the learning areas are not logically organized together in all areas.
So, yep, ready to get that? Illogical arrangement of function. Table 5.
Okay, for tech, well, we'll do Apollo. For the Aligned, the outdoor grounds, the facilities that we have on the outside of the school, are good. And for misaligned, I think you hit everything that we had on the list, other than lack of natural light in school. Okay, so lack of natural light. And then tech aligned, the historical architecture in the middle of town, the way the school looks on the outside. And the mid misaligned is that it's landlocked, so the athletic facilities there aren't any here at all.
No athletic facilities. Cross that off if you noticed that. We're Yeah, 6, table 6.
Table 6 for Apollo. For Keep, we have the good layout, so flexibility and accessibility. For our Won't Miss, we had space deficiencies as our main one. For Tech, our Keep was staff and admin. And we don't have a Won't Miss. Ours have all been missed. But we can use space deficiencies.
If anybody has a sheet that's completed, let me know, and I'll hang it up over here.
Okay, what was your won't miss on tech? Space deficiencies, classroom sizes, and no windows. A lot of windowless space here, right? Next table, table 7. Here you go. Coming over.
For Apollo, the items that we have to address include the kitchen flow. This is in addition to the cafeteria. We also were concerned about the safety within Apollo, and the lockers were very small. And then we also felt that the classrooms lacked the flexibility to convert them into different types of spaces. And for tech, the items that we wanted to address was the outdated building itself. In addition to the furniture and classrooms being flexible, similar to like what we had at Apollo. And again, we're talking about safety and cameras. And we felt we needed additional safety in Tech High School.
So lack of safety at Tech. Table 8. Anything left? That's a... Now you should be crossing off things with the line through it. Checks do not work. Line. Meg, we gotta, they're checking. Just kidding.
We, at Tech, we thought we needed a bigger theater. This is a positive actually, but we wanted to also keep that smaller auditorium space because there's a value in those more intimate spaces for some small productions. We thought we should change the fact that there's no grand entryway, no focal point for public access at Tech. At Apollo, our Keep, or we've already covered, and change, we thought we needed the public access checkpoints for people coming in, for both comfort and safety. And then just safety and security, yeah. And then also just to kind of go back to what you just said about the lighting in Tech, we thought that the lighting and windows were actually better in Tech than Apollo. Whereas most of the lights in the hallways, but not the classrooms at Apollo. We're here, most classrooms have a lot of good windows.
Okay, you're critiquing the work of another group now. Table 9. Something, and if they're, you know, it's at this point that some of them might all be crossed off at this point, so here you go.
The only thing we had for Apollo was to keep was the safety. Everything else has been said. And for Tech, the thing that we felt was aligned was the connection to the surrounding community, downtown Lake George.
Connection to community. You're crossed off? Awesome. Thanks for admitting that. Here we go.
Okay, what we have to contribute is partly just the way this is said. For Tech, I think everything is, well, they really use the space, and something that needs to be addressed that hasn't already been dealt with is maze-like. How we contribute that concept. As for Apollo, I think the main thing that we were celebrating was to add was the integration of the art space, and the main thing to address, well, it's there is the disconnected or sprawl aspects of the space.
Thank you. Next group. Table 12. Anything left? Apollo misaligned too much space for locker rooms. You want to say that? Hasn't been said yet.
No, it hasn't. For Apollo misaligned, we had the space for the locker rooms. And for tech, we had aligned activities office and misaligned the escape routes for fire safety issue.
Safety, fire escapes specifically, misaligned at tech. Tech aligned was the activities office. Next table.
We have one left. That is for Apollo. The aligned would be the performing arts space.
So good performing arts space at Apollo. Getting down to it now.
For Tech High School, we have misaligned the high school. Well, first of all, the parking master plan is a misalignment, and the location of the high school relative to the center of the Tech School District. For Apollo, for aligned, we had flexibility of existing spaces and facilities. For misaligned, we have lack of upgrades, the mixed occupancy use of school plus school district office, and the visual presence of the physical facility relative to the community.
That was 3. You got them out. Lack of upgrades, this is for Apollo, misaligned, lack of upgrades, mixed-use school district office, right? There's a mixed use there, that hasn't come up. They're saying that's a misalignment. And then visual, physical presence lacking in the community, would you say? Okay. Willie, do you have anything to add to this? You didn't? Okay, we didn't ask you. Okay. All right, anybody have any other things still on their paper right now, okay? Now we go random.
We have a couple left on the change for tech. We thought it needs a bigger theater. And we also thought the access to certain points, like the computer labs and the cafeteria, they were pretty restricted. You could only get in there certain hours, so if it was more accessible for students throughout the day, that would probably be helpful and flexible.
Okay, now for the sorting, I do want a line through your check. Otherwise people will put a dot on it. Any other items that haven't been said already? Haven't been said already. Looking around, I think we're good. Meg, I think we're good to go for the next. How are you doing?
I don't know. How am I doing?
Do you need another minute?
I need the help of the group just to make sure I have this, identifying any unique pieces here.
Okay, so we need the sheets. If you have a sheet that has an item that isn't crossed off, what we're doing here is we're circling all the big, the issues that you think are the big priorities, right? So that's going to take just a moment. If you have a sheet that everything's crossed off, that means it's already up here. Because we're going to do a priority setting exercise, and we don't want multiple items that are doing the same thing. That's the whole point. Yes. No. Go circle it. If you wanted to keep, you want one item. Did anybody else do that, do you think? I think you did. Okay, then go up and, because that would be terrible. Meg? So what's happened is they crossed it off if
Just make sure that we've got all this stuff.
oh, look at that. So let's anybody know how to turn that off? Well, while we watch this, did you all notice that you have dots at your table? You should all have a set of dots. And as an individual, you get 8 of these dots. So everyone should arm themselves at this point with 8 dots. And I don't think the color is important. They seem to be predominantly red.
They're all red.
They're all red.
They're all red.
No blues?
No blues. All red.
The blue dots are better.
Sorry, John.
It's a limiting belief I have. Meg, you let me know when you think we are ready. The idea is you're going to come up. We're going to give you 5 or 10 minutes to place the dots, your dots, on what you think are the most important issues. If you think there's one issue, Meg, can they put all their dots on one issue?
They can do whatever they want with their dots.
You can do whatever you want. You can spend your dots however you want. So this is where you vote with your dots. And what we want to do is get an idea of what are the big priorities that you as a collective team are interested in addressing and or keeping or saving or celebrating, right? Make sense? You can spend your dots. You have 8. You can put them on 8 different things or one item.
More dots.
What?
There need more dots.
We need more dots, Meg.
We have extra dots. We have extra.
Oh, you've got extra.
There should be
Who does not have dots?
6 sets of 8 dots each at each table. If somebody has more than 8 dots, not good.
Who would like to have more than 8 dots? You may not have more than 8 dots. You only get 8 dots. Combination, right? We've done aligned and misaligned. So what? This is a balance thing, right? What, you can spend those to indicate whatever, however you want. We should probably see a variety of things. Not 4 and 4. If you want to play it that way, you can.
So the idea is that we're using the ideas in the boxes, since those are the ones that are the unique ideas supposedly. If there's something that we missed, let us know, and we'll box it.
Although, that was a good question. Do you want to do 4 on each? Show of hands if you want to do 4 on each, because we've got these 2 categories. No. No? No? Okay. Are you ready to go? Who is not ready to go? Place their dots. Who is not ready? Okay, go. 5 or 10 minutes.
Because I always hold back a little bit. Being the father of the family, I think my kids and family should eat first, you know. But it's like, because if I come in here and just stand here while everybody's making a plate or whatever, let us make their plates. Right, I'll be right.
Although I'm going to have the pressure of the mixed recycling bucket where I don't know if
What's that?
this goes.
I'm being rude if I don't know. It is. We share, we have kind of an unwritten rule. If she makes it, I clean up. If I make it, she trying to get her kids
Okay, let's reconvene. You haven't spent your dots. In 20 seconds, you forfeit your dot utilization. So we're going to debrief this just a little bit, and then we're going to have a little analysis of your existing sites. And then we'll go into it.
A lot.
That was just my question. Flying through the small. Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Hang on, I'm putting you over here. Well, yes. Okay, can I have your attention again? Is that interesting? Is that interesting for you to do? So we're going to ask you to reflect on this now. One of the things that strikes me is that there's some clarity about dot. There's a lot of, again, there's a density to the dot pattern, which leads me to believe that if we look at that our common ground is in that area too. And you know, there might be some choices that have to be made within some of that dot matrix as well. But I would like, we're just going to, a couple people maybe share some thoughts about what they see here.
I see a huge concentration of dots on two things that contradict each other. So how do you proceed from there?
It's a secret. I noticed that too. But there's also, I think, plenty of other common ground, and the process will sort that out. And did you want to clarify exactly what that was?
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. Right, and outdated. Yeah. So, what I'm going to do is, we don't have to solve that, we're just identifying it. And then on the second and third, what you're going to be doing in working in tables is designing scenarios at each site, including a new site. So 5 designs at each. And we're going to extrapolate our choices, and you're going to be really creative and think creatively, knowing what you know about your vision and your priorities and your Mises and your big priorities to solve. The question was 5 designs each. You're about 15 tables. So you're each going to, we're going to break you into tables, and you'll have a design assignment that will mentor you through. So we'll have 5 designs for what can we do at Tech here, and then what can we do at Apollo in the future, and what can we do on a new site. So the people interested in redesigning Tech here, we'll have 5 designs that you've explored. So we're going to do lots of creative work next time. Make sense? And we'll structure that so that you'll know what to do. December 2nd, Tuesday, and Wednesday, December 3rd. If you signed up, you should have. I believe they're both, Tammy, they're both evening events, 4 to 8.
4 to 8.
And on the 3rd, that culminates in a presentation. You're making a presentation to the board with your recommendation. On the second day, which is the 3rd, evening of the 3rd, Wednesday the 3rd, at 8 o'clock. That's your creative deadline. So I'm reminding you of your creative deadline.
Okay, just let me handle it.
Okay, let's move on. Who's up? David. Are you up? Oh, you're up. Yes, we're done with that. Anybody else? It's interesting. This will be documented and, I think up on the website too. So now we're just going to do a little analysis piece of what you have and how it's being used currently. This is just, it's like, just the facts kind of thing. And it's going to go from Meg to David.
I can't handle all this stuff. All right, so when we start this process, we need to look at what you have. And I'm kind of the numbers person in this group. No offense, John, where is he? So one of the things that we look at is how your existing buildings are being used. And sometimes that's a little hard to decipher, but what I have done is I've gone through the schedules at both Apollo and Tech with Gary's help. Where's Gary? Thank you, Gary, because I couldn't figure out Tech's schedule to save my life. But what we wanted to do was understand how many teaching stations were actually being used in each facility and what was the percentage of usage of those spaces. So in general, both schools are using the assigned spaces, and I'm going to stress that these are the assigned spaces, because at Apollo you know that you've got a fair amount of space that's dedicated to district center at a rate of about 74%. Of that, the general teaching stations and the science teaching stations are being used at a higher percentage. And then some of those tech spaces, art and music, are being used at a little bit less percentage, which I think in conversation with Charlie has to do in some cases with the requirements of the state, if I'm not mistaken. I'll let you address that at some point if you want to. That way. But so that is kind of a brief look at utilization. Just wanted to show you, this is how I did it. I took each room, I understood what was being actually scheduled in each room, and then how many periods, and then came up with a percentage on each of those. So not rocket science, but kind of a look that sometimes districts don't actually take a look at in terms of space use. That's all I got. David? Questions? Yes, sir. Yep. Yes.
So, from your experience, in your experience, when you see these percentages, 74%,
Okay, so the question is, what does that actually mean when it's 74%, right? Sorry, guys. Typically, when we plan a new building, we plan a utilization rate of about 85%. So in many ways, we're kind of looking at your buildings and saying, yeah, they're kind of underutilized. And we can see that in particular when we look at the specialized teaching stations, that space is related to program. So in some ways, we have to look at the program as well as the space when we make those judgments. So the question is, what about the other used spaces, the other spaces in the buildings, the cafeteria, the auditorium? And it's actually really interesting because in doing a tour of Apollo, for example, there were a number of spaces that I actually colored a plan to show what I had on my schedule thing, what I didn't. But there were a number of spaces that were intentionally left unscheduled, such as computer labs, that teachers would check out during their day so that they could go to a different environment to do something different with kids. Does that make sense? In terms of the utilization of the auditorium, I would rely on the principals to talk a little bit more about how those are used. I know that cafeteria, you said you had 2 sections for lunch, am I right, Charlie? 3 sections, I got it wrong. And you know, we know that here at Tech, we've got kind of a bottleneck of lunch happening as well. We haven't studied that per se right now. We were concentrating on the learning spaces. So the question is, did we evaluate the teacher space? No, we've not done that, in part because it's a little hard to do from a schedule. Some of that would actually be kind of walking around the building and really understanding those additional spaces. The question is, what are specialized teaching stations? General teaching stations are teaching stations that you could teach math, English, language arts, world language. They're not specialized in terms of what they have in them. Specialized teaching stations are things like art, tech ed, CTE spaces that might have a specialized use associated with them. Yes?
What about spaces of this 4 different grades? Every grade might have
So the question is, have we looked at a finer grain detail at this use of space? And the answer right now is no. There are spaces that you're absolutely right. For example, 9th grade has much more in terms of requirements than 12th grade. So you can factor in that elective piece as you get higher into the grades. That might give you more opportunity for use of specialized spaces like art or the CTE, simply because the juniors and seniors have more freedom in their day to choose those types of things. We have not gone to that granularity here yet.
The thing, this is just kind of what is, right? This is how you are using your buildings now. There are other ways you can use buildings. I think one of the big obvious things is you're a district that is full of teachers who own their classrooms. So this makes there's virtually no flexibility with the scheduling when teachers are there and that's their office. So when you look at other models and when you're in Alexandria, ask them about how how flexible the rooms are. Also, you have specialized spaces that are only used for one purpose. You can design flexible, specialized spaces that can be used for a number of different things. So, and this is one of those issues around resources that, and the call for flexibility and adaptability. If we can create spaces that are more flexible and efficiently used.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I'm going to turn it over to David and Scott.
going to try to talk a little bit about existing conditions, and I'm going to invite Charlie and Adam and Brian to help me if I either say something incorrectly or if I miss something that they think should be highlighted about each of the schools. So we take a look at Tech, and we're taking a look at the site plan, and I'm sure we're all here, everybody's fairly familiar with it. Some student parking occurs over here. There's some lease space that occurs in this lot. We've got Clark Field. We've got 12th and door number 6, and that is where parent pickup occurs and also where activity buses are taking students after school out to activities because we don't have the fields here, so they have to go there. So that occurs over here. There's a little conflict that sometimes occurs there. We've got the bus chute comes through here, and currently they're running 5 buses at a time, and then those 5 buses come, and then 5 more buses, and they work it through that way. Can take up to 10 buses. There's a number of buses that come to the school, but they come through, they go through this chute right now, buses, and then they make an exit there. Staff parking on 2 sides of the building, some student parking, and then we're adjacent to media services. Of course, we know the library is across the street and the relationship with Lake George. Did I, Adam? Oh, perfect.
Oh, and the students park on the streets.
See, so it wasn't perfect. See?
You park on the adjacent streets.
Yeah, actually we've got that chart. Very easy to understand. Scott and I studied it for a couple of hours yesterday and said, we'll just put the chart up. And apparently the students are much brighter than either of us. Just overall, just to kind of help with some understanding, and I'll show in a little bit where athletic events and games and practices and things occur. But we have Tech High School here. We use some fields at South. We use some fields and some of the facilities over at the university, and off over this way, there's some facilities at the MAC that are used for some of the activities that occur too.
St. John's.
And then at St. John's as well, and Oak Hill. See, there we go. I'll go through the whole list, and then we'll see if I missed anything. Yeah, we'll take another image that will be like more of a. Here's Avon. Yeah, here's Kimball, and where are you? Okay. Okay. Apollo has all of those same characteristics, I guess, in terms of what we have. We have a bus chute.
Can you go back?
Sure. I can do anything you'd like, John.
The community center or all those
Right here. Yeah, so we have the Lake George, we have the renovated community center right here.
Who owns that?
City.
City-owned property? Okay.
Summertime by George. Yeah. Okay. Parking. Okay. Bus chute for Apollo comes through here. Got some visitor parking, some staff parking in this location. We've got play fields surrounding the site, staff parking, student parking in this lot, some additional student parking over in this area, especially in the spring when the sophomores get their license. Which is when I, who live over here, do not come this way any longer. I go down 15 and get away. Anyway, so that all occurs on the site, and from my experience, the biggest bottleneck is right there. Parents coming in, buses leaving, students leaving. Always interesting there. Okay, and the DAO is located here as well. So you had some help from Andrea and David in terms of putting together where things happen. Football practice happens at Apollo. The games are at the Apollo Stadium, and then the 9th and 10th grade play on the practice fields on campus. Boys and girls soccer, they practice and they play on campus, either at Mitchie Field or at practice fields. Girls tennis on the campus, games are on the campus. Hockey at the MAC, boys and girls hockey is at the MAC. Alpine ski is at Powder Ridge, Nordic ski, Riverside, or Vets. Gymnastics, both practicing and competing at Apollo. Softball at Apollo on the softball fields, both games and practice. Baseball, we practice at Apollo and then go to the MAC and play at Putz for the varsity, and lower levels play at Apollo. Occasionally, the JV plays at Putz.
Track at Apollo, and the notation that was made to me is the track is in need of serious repair. So I'm also, they helped me, so I'm helping them. And Kevin says it is scheduled to be repaired. So, okay, scheduled to be repaired. Okay, boys tennis at Apollo, matches at Apollo. Boys and girls golf, Wapakata Territories or St. Cloud Country Club, both for practice and compete. Boys and girls basketball at Apollo. Boys and girls swimming at Apollo, and I got to note that the pool has 8 lanes and a diving well. Outdoor facilities, again a comment, outdoor facilities are nice. Inside facilities are somewhat limited. Locker rooms and facilities themselves. Tech. Football teams practice at Clark Field. The varsity plays at either St. John's, SCSU. 9th and 10th grade play at Clark. Boys and girls soccer, they practice at Oak Hill. The varsity plays at St. Cloud State. The JV plays at Oak Hill. Girls tennis, South or Discovery is where they practice or play their meet or have their matches. Girls hockey, the MAC for both practice and play, as same is true for boys hockey, except for practicing at St. Cloud State, and then either St. Cloud State or the MAC in their games. Alpine ski at Powder Ridge, Nordic ski, Riverside or Greystone Prison. I thought that sounded kind of odd.
Much better than this. They practice there tonight.
Yeah. Sounded, looks worse probably.
They actually have great trails.
They're great. Okay, who said killer? Not good. Okay. All right. Gymnastics, they practice at Tech and they compete at Cathedral. I think there's 2 home meets. Softball, practice at Discovery or River's Edge over in Wade Park, and the games are at River's Edge. Baseball, the varsity JV practice at South. I guess the fields are in tough shape sometimes and maybe a little dangerous. 9th grade practice there. There's 2 fields for 3 teams. And then the varsity plays at Faber Field at the MAC, and the JV play at Clearwater or St. Augusta. Some JV games at Faber Field. Track at South. There are no meets because the track at South isn't fit to host the meet. Boys tennis, South and Discovery for practice and matches. The golf is at Wapakata or Boulder Ridge. They compete at Wapakata. Basketball, practice and compete at Tech. Girls and boys, lacrosse. They practice at Oak Hill, and the varsity plays at SCSU, and JV plays at Oak Hill. And again, a comment that I received when Tech practices or plays at SCSU, St. John's, River's Edge, the MAC, or any location where they're paying rent. They only can be there when it's available, so that sometimes makes it difficult to schedule games if the games are scheduled around the other dancers. Also put together a short list of the maintenance, and these are a little different, Brian, than the numbers that you gave me because I couldn't make the math add up. But basically, building maintenance at Apollo, $5.1 million right now in outstanding maintenance. Site maintenance, $1.075, and of that 1.075, $1 million of that is parking lot repair and maintenance. And then at all of the buildings right now, the district is looking at converting from hot water, or from steam to hot water, and then upgrading the heating, ventilation, and dehumidification. And for Apollo, that's estimated to be around $14 million. And Tech, sorry.
That's a no change cost.
Right.
$20 million investment without a programmatic.
Right. That's simply taking care of what's there.
So that's just a one-time cost, not an annual.
Yes, it's scheduled out, especially the top 2 numbers are scheduled out. This goes out to 2024 is how it's scheduled out. The second number, the 14 million, that's a one-time investment that had probably done over 1 year. For example, that's happening this next summer at North Clearview and Westwood. So it's a one-time investment to convert that, which has a payback of a few years because of the efficiency in those systems.
So why that's important is if you choose that you want to move Apollo to another site, you would not invest $20 million in this building that you don't want. Right? That's not certain.
Makes sense? So, and then again, just to clarify, these are numbers that are spread out until 2024. This is a one-time cost. That's already a part of the program in place.
And the important thing to note that it was done in 2009, and it's not what could be occurring or what's coming up. These are costs that we know are still coming up. It's not what will occur in the future.
Right. This is a list that's been put together, but it doesn't necessarily account for what might continue to happen, right? We look at tech, we have building maintenance of 5.6, almost 5.7, site maintenance of 745, and of that 745, 510 of that actually on this list is some repairs at the Clark field. Different things, bleachers, lockers, things like that. It's not, probably not the whole thing. And then conversion for this building is about 18 million to convert that to hot water, and so forth and so on. Okay, so same kind of a thing. The first two numbers are spread out to 2024. Don't anticipate other issues that would come up in the meantime. The second number is a one-time cost that will be done as a conversion. And then the energy savings will start after that. Yes, sir. The way the list is put together right now, what I did is there's a maintenance list that's put together, and I totaled it. Several of the things in that 745 are related to Clark Field. There's some problems with the concrete wall crumbling. There's some issues, but it is the things that have been identified as unsafe. But for example, it doesn't have turf replacement with artificial turf, or some of the other things have been considered in the other way that Clark is being looked at. It's simply taking care of Clark so it doesn't continue to deteriorate. Yes, same thing, right, Brian? Yeah. It's mostly to keep it from continuing to deteriorate. There's a little bit in there for that, but it's no.
If that 510 would not make that suitable for varsity play.
Oh, right. Agreed. Again, it just keeps it from continuing to deteriorate. It's kind of holding it in place. That's accurate, right? Yeah. It's a Band-Aid, yeah. Just to keep it's numbers just to keep it from continuing to get more and more unsafe. We all know it's been out the field what it takes. What? What did you say, Jim? The question was, have there been plans put together to renovate Clark Field so it could operate as a varsity field?
The architects put that together in that plan in 2015 dollars, $3.4 million.
Okay.
So that would make it suitable for varsity play. That would include renovation of the bleacher structure, the center and play,
lighting, all of those.
Soccer, lacrosse, and football.
Soccer, lacrosse, and football. So an architect has put together an estimate to bring that to a varsity level competition for soccer, lacrosse, and football at about $3.4 million. More or less.
And I have one other question. Parking matrix throughout the pack. How many kids are parking in the library?
I don't know how many are parking in the new library lot, but zero. We're getting a zero. Yeah, zero.
And about 280 in the.
We've got 221 for staff and students on site. About 197 that's leased from the city in that lot over there, and then there's a total of 716 if you add in all of the spaces that are designed into the neighborhood. So when you add on-site, the lease space, and what's in the neighborhood at Tech here, you get around 716 spaces. At Apollo, we have 400 spaces on site. this is a comparison slide. You want me to do this, or did you, John, want to do it, or I can do it? It's reading. Right? I can read. Mostly. So we have categories across the top. This is doing a comparison of a number of different schools. Sauk Rapid Rice is on top there, grades 9 through 12, design capacity of 1,500, roughly 360,000 square feet. So the square foot per student at 240. And if you remember in one of our earlier discussions, Meg and John talked about a planning level of 200 square feet per student as we're working on this. So that is about 240. When you combine the acreage there in the master plan that was put together with the city, they have about 250 acres, and they have about 885 parking stalls on site. Wadena Deer Creek Middle and High School, grades 5 through 12, design capacity for 174,000 square feet, 218 square feet per student, site size 42 acres. It's a combined middle school, high school, so 244 stalls. East Ridge High School, 9 to 12, 1,800 student capacity, 375,000 square feet, 208 square feet per student, 114 acres. I can add too. Huh? Yeah. And then 1,124 parking. And then Alexandria, 9 to 12, and that's where we're going today. 1,400 student design capacity, 285,000 square feet, 203 square foot per student, 167 acres, and 794 parking stalls. So if we compare current facilities, St. Cloud Apollo, grades 9 through 12. Currently, there's 1,393, at least, it may not be currently, it may not be today, but the last number we have is 1,393 students, 349,000 square feet, and that includes the district office space. So that doesn't, we didn't subtract out the district office space. We didn't have that number. So if you take that, you get 250 square feet per student. Well, we're kind of including the district office space, so that number's lower. 63 acres for the site and parking of 400. St. Cloud Tech, 9 to 12, 1,428 students, 367,727 square feet. Square feet per student, 258. The site size is 9 acres, and there's 221 stalls on site. So that gives you kind of a comparison of some of the other high schools that are roughly in the same size. Yes. Yes. He asked, does it mean that St. Cloud Tech has more square footage than Apollo? And the answer is yes.
A lot of ways in space.
That's 5 levels. So some of it is stairs, some of it is hallways. Yeah. John? Burnsville. Egan. Pick a town. Pick a town. Woodbury, Egan, or it's Woodbury. Yeah, the cities, right? Somewhere between here and there, you cross that line. Any other questions?
The Alexandria site is quite large, but about 2/3 of it is wetlands, and so I think they use about 50 acres for their.
David, all 4 of those schools modern schools built on Greenfield or built sort of
Yeah, I think they're all green shade. Sauk Rapids, if you remember, is built halfway between here and Foley. Remember?
Yeah, this was just more about kind of design capacity and square foot per student, but we'll have that data for the next time as well. Yeah.
So I think that was a reflection, right? That was a reflection. So what happens at South and Oak Hill and some of the places that are currently being used, right? That too.
Yeah, it's time to wrap up because the buses are waiting, and you know how buses get. So, Tammy, do you want to come do some housekeeping things?
Housekeeper is back. On the back wall by that door, if you are interested in going to the Hopkins tour, which is next Tuesday, the 25th, we still have room on that bus. So if you did not have an opportunity to sign up for Hopkins, there's a marker right by the poster, grab it and sign up before we leave. We are going to enter the bus chute here at Tech to get on our bus. It is Voight's, right? Where's Brian? I think it's a Voight's charter bus. It's in the bus chute, which is where you entered. So between door 19 and 20 is where the bus is going to be. Here's how you get out of Tech. Brian, you're my check. Go out, go right, cross over the Skyway, go left, and down the stairs. Okay? So, thank you very much. I was worried about my directions. So go right across the Skyway, go left, right down the stairs, and that's where the bus. We're going to take off as soon as we can. Some people want to make sure that we get back in that 4 to 4:30 window that we promised. Yes. Oh, box lunches will be on the bus for you. Yes, yes. If you need to, please go to the restroom.